Yay! Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Fellow Toastmasters, viewers at home, and honored guests, welcome to our meeting. It's Tuesday night at 7:30. Actually 7:45. We're starting on time. My name is Rhonda Whitaker. I am your Sergeant at Arms, and I'd like to have you help me warmly welcome Mr. Will Burns, our President.
Yo!
Thank you, Rhonda. And thank you to each and every one of you, honored Toastmasters, honored and distinguished guests, and viewers at home. This is Passover, as I'm told, so I want to thank all of you that had the opportunity to make it out here tonight to come see us. And join us all here for this wild experience at Toastmasters to provide a mutually supportive, positive learning environment in which every member has the opportunity to develop oral communication and leadership skills, which, in turn, fosters self-confidence and personal growth.
Yay!
It'll be my pleasure here to turn it over to the Toastmaster in just a minute here, but first, I'd like to welcome our guests, and I'll start with the lady in the back there, Rhea. Welcome back once again.
Thank you.
And if you want to comment at the end, you're welcome to, but you're not required to. So, welcome. And then, of course, two other guests, my dear friends. Am I surprised?
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Introduce yourself. Introduce yourself. Stand up.
Yeah, exactly. Good.
Okay. Hi everyone. Hi.
My name is Niku. I'm basically here because of my husband. I want to see if he will find Toastmasters as wild as Will described. Anyways, this is the very first experience here. I have heard about your, what shall we call it?
Experience.
Whatever, a lot, but I haven't had a chance of coming here, so I'm looking forward for actually getting along more and see how it will go.
Perfect. If you want to stand for a minute, just introduce yourself.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Mahdi, and it's a first experience for coming this Toastmaster. But before I heard about this class, but I'm very glad because take part this class. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Welcome once again.
Thank you.
And now, my pleasure to call up our Toastmaster.
Thank you, Will. Thank you, Will. Thank you, Toastmasters. And what did Will say that was so wild? He was enthusiastic, right? Great. And genuinely so. Our theme tonight is marriages. Anybody here married? Anybody like to be married? Anybody's married and would not like to be married? Never mind. Toastmasters, special guests and viewers at home. Let me kick off tonight's meeting. I'm the Toastmaster. I'll keep the ball rolling, the meeting on time. First order of business is I'd like to introduce our role players. First, I'd like to introduce our timer, Casey Phillip. Explain what you're going to do.
Oh, this one, okay. Table topics are 1 to 2 minute speeches. The green light is turned on at 1 minute. The yellow light is turned on at 1 minute 30 seconds. And the red light is turned on at 2 minutes and remains on until the end of the speech. Prepared speeches are usually 5 to 7 minutes. The icebreaker is 4 to 6 minutes, and some advanced level speeches are longer. Green light is turned on at 5 minutes. The yellow light is turned on at 6 minutes. And the red light is turned on at 7 minutes and remains on until the end of the speech. Evaluations are 3 minutes. The green light is turned on at 2 minutes. The yellow light is turned on at 2 minutes 30 seconds. And the red light is turned on at 3 minutes and remains on until the end of the evaluation.
Thank you, Casey. In case you didn't know, our second speaker tonight, Ron Carrot, is going to go 10 minutes. Okay? Next, I'd like to introduce our hot counter, Darlene Martin. Please explain your role.
Thank you, Bert. My role as the ah counter is to keep track of fill-in words such as ah, like, you know, so, but, and, tongue clicks, pauses, repeats, and false starts, and I'll give a report at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Darlene. We'll hear later from our joke master, which is going to be Jesus Rios tonight. He just found out. Thank you, Jesus. Also hear a little later from our general evaluator, Marilyn Graver. But next, I would like to introduce our grammarian, Dan Craig.
White of the day is temporize. It's a verb. To gain time as by postponing action or to yield to current conditions, compromise. An example of the first one might be, the senator was so determined not to have the bill come to a vote that he temporized for hours. My role as a grammarian is going to be to listen to hear if anybody uses the word of the day. You get gold stars. I'm also going to listen to language in general, to note if anybody uses language particularly well, or if anybody has a clunker that might need to be corrected, and I will give a report at the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Dan. The next part of our meeting is an impromptu speech. It's called Table Topics, and it's 1 to 2 minute unprepared speeches. And with that, I'd like to introduce our Table Topics mistress, Rhonda Whitaker.
Thank you for that temporized comment. Now, this gives people a chance to stand up and think on their feet. There is 30 seconds at the beginning after you come up when you can make up your mind what you'd like to say quietly to yourself. Your timer will start the clock when you enter your first comment. This theme today is marriage. And I believe on the matrix it says, marriage is made in heaven, but so is thunder and lightning. Yeah. And that's a quote from Clint Eastwood. So we have several people who are guests that are welcome to come up if you like. And we usually have more people than this. So I think tonight some of our role players may get a chance to do table topics as well. I have 11 questions here. And when the person comes up, they pick a number and they get that question. Unless there's some controversy, like it doesn't fit whether they're married or not. So do I have any volunteers? Will? Yay! Okay, Will. What number would you like?
You know, I want to say 1, but I feel like 9 is going to be a good number. So go at 9.
Okay.
This could be a big mistake.
That's wild.
Do you feel marriage is good for someone's health?
Toastmasters, honored and distinguished guests, and viewers at home. Marriage. Can a marriage not only be healthy by itself, but also be healthy for its participants? I feel that it can, and they can actually greatly enhance the power, the passion, the zest for life, the ability to share an experience with another human being in this crazy journey of life. I find in my own life, I should add, I'm unmarried. It's probably not unusual to anybody here who knows me, but what I've seen. Let me back up here a little bit. In my life up until this point, I can relate to many periods growing up of loneliness, of being by myself. I played a lot alone. I experienced life a lot alone. My thoughts were often my own, and I had no one to share them with. As I got older, I got friends, but that constant companion, that person who can be your best advocate, who can understand both your good side and your bad. I'm reminded of Tom Trainer's story about how he had to protect his boat in New York, in a marina upstate. And his loving wife ran to back him up. And I feel that a healthy relationship, a healthy marriage, brings enormous bounties and benefits to its participants.
You see how easy that is? Do we have someone else who would like to say something about marriage tonight?
And it could be one of our guests.
Oh, Tom.
Yes, one of our guests.
Okay. Jean.
Okay.
Name 3 benefits of marriage for people, please.
Fellow Toastmasters, guests, and viewers at home. I feel like I'm a newlywed because I got married really late in my life. I was single most of the time. And I'm on my first husband.
So far.
He is my first husband. Presumably he'll be my last husband, but I have to say it that way because that is the truth. So I feel that I was a mature individual when I came into marriage. And one of the first things I've noticed is that you have a built-in buddy. You just have a buddy. So it's really important to have some common activities that you like to do, and even better to have a sense of appreciation for each other, and that you kind of get a little bit where you are each coming from, and that's where that buddy thing comes in. Now, I am a woman, and my husband is a man, and we are alien species, and I know that. So there are going to be differences of opinion and perspectives and all that, but one of the second benefit of this is that how do you get those two very opposite kinds of individuals to come together and create something that's a synergy, that's bigger and better than both of them. So it's having a built-in buddy, but it's also having a built-in gymnasium for emotions and perspectives on how to hold it together, keep it together, keep it together. And I'd say the third benefit is, this is tricky. You have someone who'll tell you if you have something, hanging off of your nose, or
That's important.
something that's not right. Unless you're going by a mirror when you're single, you don't necessarily know that. But if you're married, someone will be able to tell you, honey, you ought to do this, or there's something caught in your hair, something like that. If your partner doesn't have that much hair, then you could be doing something else for that individual. But anyway, I guess those are the 3 that come to my mind. Thank you.
Tom, would you like to come up and give us your reply to table topics?
Yo! You should. Yeah. Dealer's choice.
Do you believe in bachelor parties before the marriage?
Madam Tabletop Master, fellow Toastmasters, honored and distinguished guests, viewers at home. Do I believe in bachelor parties? Well, before I got married, I did. The first time. Now, I married my first wife. I dated her for 7 years, and we were married for 28. Now, that's 35 years. And then, luckily, she decided that I wasn't good enough. So we did the usual thing called divorce. Nasty, messy, expensive. But again, it was a blessing because it made me stop and think, do I really enjoy doing what I'm doing? And the answer was no. I was only doing what I was doing because my wife had expensive tastes. And the man from the bank, was always there. We got a messy divorce, an expensive divorce. I ended up losing my friends, my business. Everything got lost. But in the process of losing so much, I found my real wife, the life of my dreams, the wife that I enjoy being with. And we've been friends long before we got married. We were friends for about 6 years before we were ready to really make that big commitment. The funny part of it all was we were sitting talking to Cindy's mom. And Mom was kind of looking at me like, she didn't quite know me well enough. And I laughed, as you probably know. I said to her, Mom, you got to remember that I'm really well trained in what not to do. And I'm going to take good care of your daughter. And this is I was at that time age 50. And Cindy was 40. So we could kind of get a few years in it. But Madam Tabletop Master.
Arnie.
Yo!
What number? 1 through 11?
7.
How would you counsel a friend who is moving toward an elopement?
Once more?
How would you counsel a friend? What would you say to your friend who plans on eloping without permission, going away and getting married quickly overnight without permission from her parents? How old is she?
Ha!
Yeah.
18.
It's a part of it. Good question. It's whatever you want to say.
Madam Table Topics, fellow Toastmaster, masters, guests, and viewers at home. Since I know that she is 18, he or she is 18, I feel like she's of the age to make her own choice. And I don't really feel like I have to change her mind. She may have her reasons for that. Maybe she doesn't want some big, expensive wedding. Maybe she's a private person. Maybe she's a movie star and just wants something low-key. Not Vegas. Or maybe she does want to go to Vegas, where there's secrets. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yeah.
But I might ask her some questions about, just investigate why she's making this choice. Is she feeling any pressure to make this choice? Is it her own choice that she wants to make? I think that about does it.
Yo!
Ria's raising her hand.
All right,
Ria, our
Ria.
guest. Come up, Ria. Welcome, Ria. What number would you like?
11.
Is gender an issue for you regarding marriage being legal? Is gender an issue for you regarding a marriage being legal? Okay. You can segue. Actually, with table topics, if you don't like the topic, you can kind of sidestep it and say, you know, that's a nice topic, but I think I'd rather talk to you about this. So if you want to do that, you can, or I can give you another question.
6.
Okay. What's the best part of a marriage ceremony?
Ah,
All right.
The best part of a marriage ceremony. I think the best part of a marriage ceremony would be the vows. What two people feel towards each other, what in their hearts they want to say to each other to make a promise for the rest of their lives as to what marriage means to them. Marriage is it's a huge important thing in one's life, and not something to be taken lightly. A lot of people nowadays rush into marriage, perhaps even people that elope or whatever quickly, or are young, or are perhaps haven't had enough time to get to know one another, often rush into a marriage, and it's good to really feel what one wants out of a marriage, and to give to another person. And I think a vow in the very beginning is a good way to say, here's who I am, and this is what I want to give to you, and how I would like this relationship to go, and our life together to be. And that can be a blessing from the beginning. All right.
We have time for 2 more table topics. Jesus, you had your hand up fastest.
all right.
Yo.
Jesus, we have 1, 2, 3, 8, 10, and 11.
8.
Can you give us an idea of how you have improved since being married?
Ha!
Remember, it's recorded.
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, and viewers at home. The answer to the question is, I haven't. I think the marriage, in the way it has helped me to grow, we grew together. We learned a lot of things about life, things that were new to both of us. It gave me confidence because I knew that I wasn't walking alone. I had somebody to support me when I was weak. And at the same time, I was there to help her when she was weak. We were there for each other. We had a wonderful time. I've been married almost 30 years of my life, and I've been separated for 8 years. And I think even after the marriage, I still continue to grow. I continue to explore new things. I continue to grow as a human being and to know that marriage, it shouldn't be a document that you sign and then it has a legality. That's just a label to present to society and to say, I am married. I think that marriage should be a unity of love, regardless of the document. I don't believe that it should be such thing as a common law marriage, then after 7 years, you are considered legally married. But on the other hand, there's no such thing as a common law divorce. I have been separated over 8 years, and I'm still married. I paid back then about $100 to sign the marriage license. Now to destroy that paper, it will cost me thousands. So I think that if somebody is to get married, that's optional to have the document. If you're going to have a commitment, basically I believe that you'll be marrying the system. You'll be marrying the government. Because having the paper is not going to guarantee that you're going to remember for the rest of your life where you love one. What's going to keep you is really what you feel for the other person and what the other person feels for you. And that's some of the, I guess, the knowledge that I've gotten in my marriage life. Thank you.
Rahul? 10 and 11.
1, 3, 10, and 11. 1.
Rahul, how is marriage a sacred union?
Thank you. Good evening, friends, honored and distinguished guests, and viewers at home. My name is Rahul Vats. And the question that I have been asked is, how is marriage a sacred union? And the answer is very simple. I'm speaking the answer on the belief that I have grown up in my life with. Marriage is a bond that you enter into, not for one lifetime, but for lifetimes. If in your marriage you feel that the person you're going to marry is the one for you, and you can feel that you can not only for this lifetime, but for lifetimes, be together always. That aspect of marriage, which comes in Hinduism as a very strong feeling for me, is what makes marriage a sacred union for me. There is a very interesting story that I like to share with you. Once, Parvati, goddess Parvati, the wife of Shiva, Lord Shiva, asked Lord Shiva, Lord, in the marriage, we take 7 circles around the fire. Would you explain what those 7 circles around fire mean? Lord said, each circle represents the devotion, the dedication, the trust, the faith, the honesty that you put into your partner for lifetimes. That aspect of 7 circles around the fire in the Hinduism, in a Hindu marriage ceremony, for me, makes the marriage a sacred union. With that, thank you, Madam Secretary.
That concludes our table topics section. Now I'd like to turn the meeting over to our table topics evaluator.
No, we have to vote. We have to vote.
Thank you.
See if everybody
Now we are
qualifies.
going to take a narrow slip of paper that's beside you in one of your chairs.
We'll qualify and find out who qualified.
Everyone.
Casey, could you tell us who qualified?
Will qualified, Jean qualified, Tom qualified, Darlene qualified, Rita, Jesus, and Rahul. They all qualified.
Thank you. Thank you for voting. Now at this point, I believe it's time for me to turn the lectern over to our table topics evaluator, Mr. Art Atkinson.
Bonsoir, mesdames et messieurs. Je m'appelle Jacques Marie, standing in for Art Atkinson, who's not available. What I really liked about our speakers this evening is that most of them spoke here, close up to the audience, out front. Didn't do like I'm often noted as doing, hiding behind the lectern. Will's topic was the possibility of marriage being good for the health of the participants. Was it good for health? He was out front. He had good eye contact. He took time to think about his topic. He was absolutely planted right here. And if there's anything, Will, where did you go? There you are, counting votes. If there's anything that I would recommend, it would be to choose a couple more gestures to insert into your talks. This is your favorite one.
Yeah.
And you plant yourself, you like me, are pretty comfortable in military parade rest, and you didn't go anywhere.
Right.
Like many of the other speakers did in using the area a little bit more purposefully. Jean, what I really liked was the way she worked 3 or 4 little humor elements in. Her topic was the benefits of, I didn't quite hear the topic exactly, but it was all about the benefits of being a newlywed. She greeted the guests very directly. I like that. Her gestures, the opposites of male and female, she had some nice gestures for that. I would also recommend a little more motion. You were also pretty securely planted in one place. But you did something that I was very surprised. Tom, if I had any recommendation, is that address both sides of the room. You and many of the speakers tonight were just talking to this half of the room, and this half of the room was not getting much attention. Rhea, I liked your sincerity, the fact that you took time to really think about what you wanted to say. My suggestions are a couple of things, and those will come with practice, and that would be, do come out from behind and work on speaking up. Don't speak at the floor, but speak up to the whole audience in the room and project your voice. Develop a habit of delivering one point to one person and then moving on and delivering a second point to a second person and so on. You had what we call a very general eye contact, and that is you were sort of scanning the room but not talking to anybody in particular. Jesus, I would recommend for you, you had great vocal projection, but avoid turning your back on the audience while you're speaking. That would be my report.
Go! Thank you.
And what Rahul didn't tell you about
Oh,
Parvati.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Rahul, I missed him. He's up here on the top of the page. I didn't have enough
Anyway,
slides.
but what Rahul didn't mention was the prenuptial between Parvati and Shiva, who was a killer. She had to go through 108 lifetimes or reincarnations before he would have her.
Really?
Yes. So she is known for her patience and devotion. Yeah? Right.
Same.
Now it's time for our prepared speeches. It's my pleasure to introduce Tom Trainer, who will introduce John Lewis.
Go. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, honored distinguished guests, especially John. John is doing speech number 5 from the Competent Communicator Manual, which essentially means after tonight he will be 50% complete. But it's more than 50%, isn't it, John? It's geometric. He's actually been building. The geometric is on the front end. You get to 5, you're about 80% done. Wow. He's topic tonight is Your Body Speaks. He is to use stance, body movement, gestures, facial expressions, eye contact, illustrate and enhance his verbal message. The movement, gestures, facial expressions, and eye contact should be smooth and natural. And the message you see should be the one you hear, coordinating the message with the movement. The speech should be clear, purpose, and have appropriate organization. His title, Infinity. Thinking about it makes my head hurt. What is infinity? Did Einstein know infinity? Can we know infinity through science? Is infinity a concept or a reality? Finite infinity versus infinity of unboundedness. Please, John, temporize us with your expressions. Please welcome John Lewis.
Golden speakers, honored guests, and infinite viewers at home.
Ha!
My speech tonight is on infinity. What is infinity? How do we experience infinity in the body? How does science explore infinity? And why, when I think about infinity when I was a little kid and was introduced to it, why did it hurt my head? Ow! But first, let's do some Toastmaster yoga. I would like everybody sitting in their chairs to reach their arms over their head as far as you can without standing up. As far as you can. Reach your arms over your head as high as you can. Now go a little bit more. Okay. That's interesting. We've reached the boundary, but we went beyond it. We reached the boundary that we thought we were, and we went beyond it. I used to do that for my Little League teams to show them that they actually had more to give. What is infinity? What's the definition of infinity? Infinity is the unlimited extent of space, time, or quantity. It comes from a Greek word that means endless. Endless, and that's the symbol. And it also comes from a Latin word, infinitas, which means unbounded. I was first introduced to the concept of concept of infinity by Zeno, who was a Greek philosopher. And what he used to do is think up paradoxes. And one of his paradoxes was, he took Achilles, and he said, if Achilles was to run a race, and he halved the distance to the goal, to the end of the race every time, and kept halving the distance and halving the distance, he would not reach the end of the race. He wouldn't reach the finish line. Why? Because there are an infinite number of halves in an infinity. So I thought, that is pretty cool. That is really cool. So I started thinking about infinity. And I thought about endless number lines and endless planets and endless distances. But what would happen was, you think of an endless number line, you could just add 1 to the end of the number line, the infinite number line, and now it's another infinity. So was that infinity or is that a finite infinity? So what I thought was, I'm not smart enough to think of infinity. I am not smart enough. Who is smart enough to think of infinity? I really idolized Albert Einstein. So I thought Albert Einstein, being the smartest man on the planet who ever lived, he could think of infinity. Because he could think smarter than I could. As it turns out in my research, I find that may not be the case. Science explores infinity in a different way. Science looks out the universe and tries to find the biggest distances, the largest infinite distances. Science just discovered, astronomers just discovered the largest object in the universe. Just discovered it 3 months ago. It's a large quasar group. It's 4 billion light years wide. 4 billion light years wide. It is tens of thousands of our own Milky Way galaxies wide. But the most astounding thing is, it's 3% of the observable universe. Wasn't there, we didn't know about it 4 months ago? 3 months ago, we now know about it. Now, there are other guys that say, I don't want to look out to the universe, I want to look small. I want to look at the smallest distances. Particle physicists. Okay? Particle physicists, they crash protons together, they measure these little tiny particles. And what they found recently, you may have read about it, they found the Higgs boson. Higgs boson they've been looking for 20 years. They postulated it, they've looked for it, they found it. You may know it as the God particle. They call it the God particle because it was there, supposedly, and caused the Big Bang. I don't know if that's true. I think they call it the God particle because it's awful hard to get funding if you're looking for the dog particle. Now, on the quantum level, very small distances. On the galactic level, very huge distances. Are they infinities? Will we still find smaller and smaller particles? I think so. Will we find more and more out there? I think so. Now, researching this speech, I think we all go through this. We find out things that we didn't know before about ourselves, and sometimes shocking things. Well, what I found out was that this idea that my head hurt, ow, from thinking about infinity, wasn't physical pain. It was frustration. And the reason it was frustration is because I was looking for infinity, the unbounded infinity. I was trying to hold the unbounded infinity, but what actually I was holding was finite infinity in thoughts. And I kept getting frustrated. So then I was researching some quotes. And guess what I find? I'm not the only one who's frustrated by infinity. There's this philosopher, Alfred Musset, who said, I cannot help it, but in spite of myself, infinity torments me. Another quote by Pascal, probably the father of computers because he invented the first calculator. He said, the last function of reason is recognizing that there are an infinite number of things beyond it. And then I find the quote that completely freaked me out. It was a contemporary of Albert Einstein, Patrick Moore. He's an astronomer. He says, I'm only a fourth-dimensional creature. I haven't got a clue how to visualize infinity. Even Einstein hadn't. And I know that because I asked him. So, coming across that blew my mind. Didn't even know it was there. But I hope that I've shown some infinity ideas to you and I haven't hurt your heads too much. Thank you.
Thank you, John. My head was bulging. Jeez.
His head still hurts.
I read on the internet where they discovered that the there's an infinite number of universes. And I'm going, oh my God. How are we going to deal with that? Thank you so much. That was wonderful. Our next speech, 2 minutes to evaluate. Everybody put their pencils down. Wrap up your notes. Gives me great pleasure to introduce our next evaluator, Jean Symington-Craig, who will be reading the objectives and introducing the Venerable Ron Kerr, whose talk will be 8 to 10 minutes.
On the paperwork.
Thank you, Jean.
Finding the paperwork. Tonight, Ron is working on project number 7 in the Competent Communicator Manual. For our guests, the beginning manuals, when you become a member, you can proceed at your own pace. There are 10 projects in each manual, and each one develops a different skill. This one, project number 7, is called Research Your Topic. It's to develop research skills and to learn how to put facts and material into your speech from a variety of sources. So Ron's objectives, I'm going to temporize here a little bit. Ron's objectives are to collect information about his topic from numerous sources. He is also to carefully support his points and opinions with specific facts, examples, and illustrations gathered through research. Ron is a longtime member and past president of Golden Speakers. He is working on completing a second Competent Communicator Manual. You can do these a number of times because you can't get enough of the basics. And so he is wanting to brush up on his basics and also assist the club, because when he completes these manuals, it is able to be turned in for credit for the club in Toastmasters credit. So please help me warmly welcome Ron. We'll be talking about different types of origins of cancer and have some theories for you. Thank you, Ron.
Came out in front. 6 months ago, I was minding my business. I had some tests run, got called into an office, sat down with the urologist about 2 feet away. He says, Mr. Kerr, you've got a large cancerous tumor in your bladder. We're going to have to cut your bladder out and stick a little tube on the side of your body, and you'll be miserable and you'll be dead in maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 years. That's what he said. Now here's what I heard. Mr. Kerr, is Dad here? Ha! You used to call me Mr. Kerr. I always think, oh no, that's my dad. He's Mr. Kerr. I'm Ron. Anyway, then I'm thinking, is he talking to me? And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, I think he's talking to me. I mean, his lips are moving. I hear words. And then I kind of look around the room. There's nobody else in the room. I think he is talking to me. This is my first trip to, well, it wasn't really the first trip, but it was one of many frequent trips I made to that river in Egypt called the Nile. Because I had had a series of escalating symptoms that I had dealt with effectively. And so I thought, this is the point here. The title is The Survival Hypothesis to the Origins of Cancer. Here's a nice book. Everyone should read it and make sure their friends have it. The answer to cancer is never giving it a chance to start. I've had this for years. I didn't really read it. I read it so much, but say therapeutic foods. Hey, I'm not health food enough for the past 42 years. Sleep. I sleep like a log. Well, unless I'm disturbed. Herbs. I take a boatload of herbs. Meditation. Hey, I'm on the program 42 years. Yoga. I can do it all. Natural detox. 2 major cleanses each year, plus at least 2 minor cleanses. I did it all.
And I did more than all of it. And I worked out, and I lost weight, and I good. People gave me compliments, but when I went to the bathroom, it was a horror story. But when I came out after a minute or two, I just smiled and just kept going. It never knocked me down. It never put me to the point where I couldn't go to work or do what I had to do. But this is one hypothesis. So when you mention, especially this town can be called a town with no pity. Because if you admit to a weakness, everyone here is so well versed, and myself included. They'll lecture all day long as to how not to get cancer, Jesus Christ. I could tell you. I've got 8,000 newsletters archived. I've got Trudeau's books. I've got Ranger Rick. I've got McCullough's. I've got it all. And I read more. I had exotic herbs coming in from India. I had to know, let me tell you how not to get cancer. So it happened today. I just inadvertently, as an old friend, I hadn't seen him. He didn't know what was going on. And then somebody mentioned, said, "Oh, really? Oh, I've got just the formulas for you." I'll send this to you. Kind of, but it's like, it's either 20 minutes of polite conversation or just like, "Oh, how nice, thank you. I'll look forward to it." There's a certain point. This motto I used to have, Diane Denbaum, Teddy Roosevelt used to have it. Do the best you can with what you've got right now. Not, oh, I could do better if no, none of that. What can you do right now with what you got? If I had a lot more money, I would have done a lot more stuff. The healers come through town all the time. I've seen everyone. I don't mind. I got no pride about that kind of thing. And formulas and exotics and all the rest of that, sure. But that's an extra $5, $6, $7, $8 a month, and things were already tight. Anyway, the rival hypothesis thing is it's something I've known about for a while, but it just got reintroduced as I was leaving the clinic. I'm proud to say that I'm completely clear and freed up and healed of that whole condition. But on the way out, somebody handed me some pages, and it was really funny. I said, well, this is intriguing, and I mentioned it to another lady. She says, oh. And then she went back to her apartment and brought me out a 14-page thing about this. And it's a German doctor by the name of Hammer. In 1978, he got some shocking news. It's terrible. His son was killed, and he took it very hard. And 3 months later, he came down with testicular cancer. Now, he was the head of the oncology department in Munich, in the University of Munich. He's a MD, he's a medical surgeon, the whole 9 yards. And he had that kind of inquiry in mind. Not all doctors have that. Many of them just, it's a job, like cutting hair. They know what to do and that's it. But there's others who take it the next step, go deeper into it. And said, maybe there's a connection here. And started doing research and putting together what he now calls German New Medicine. And what it is sort of a missing link that fleshes out the field of psychosomatic medicine. You've all heard of psychosomatic medicine. Psycho, the mind, soma is the body. And essentially what it is the study of how the body is affected by shifts in the emotions and the mind. Some research says somewhere between 70 to as much as 95% of all illness that people experience are psychosomatic, meaning they have a mental origin. Not that it's airy-fairy in their head. No, it's real in their body. But the origins came in the head first, and then into the emotions, and then finally solidified into the body. Now this is intriguing. I have a background in the field of trauma, traumatology. Vietnam veteran, 1980, I wrote my first thesis. The TM technique is as a modality of treatment for Vietnam veterans suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, which just got listed in 1980, by the way, in the DSM. Right. There's 3 then. As a Vietnam veteran as well, and having some funny things going on in my life and seeing the tragic things and horrible things that a lot of my fellow veterans were going through, I knew something was not right, and no one was talking about it. Everyone was acting like, oh, well, you know. And worse, they were making it moral judgments that these are weak. You're weak if you have that. Because the strong ones know you just take another drink. And those guys drink themselves blind every night. Anyway, that's another story. The trouble with some of these speeches is to stay in the package. Because you only have a certain amount of time. That's where you only get a certain amount of time. Psychosomatic medicine then, and what he did was he realized, and he proceeded to interview 20,000 cancer patients and did CT scans of their brain, and what he realized was that he could actually recognize little lesions in the brain that corresponded to that part of the body, and then upon inquiry found that, yes, there was some unexpected, unpredicted, some trauma, some horrible thing that happened to the person all of a sudden. And then very quickly behind that, this thing showed up in here and then started to show up here. With that in mind, he started introducing psychotherapy into his practice. Psychotherapy, imagine that, talking to people about how your life is. That won't fly in the West. I mean, he did such a good job at documenting this. He's a scientist, a researcher, that he was stripped of his title and kicked out of the job and essentially hounded out of his home of Germany. So he says, okay, no problem, I'll go to France, they're progressive. So he meets with all the top medical people, shows and shares everything, who promptly humiliate him and drive him out of the country. So he's been living in Spain ever since. But this is a good sign because the true pioneers usually get kicked out of town. They're the ones that really, I mean, look at Pasteur. What do you mean, gotta wash my hands? Come on, I don't see nothing on my hands. Psychosomatic medicine with New German medicine now is all of a sudden bringing us to a point where this unpredicted trauma to an individual who may be emotionally challenged, maybe isolated, maybe doesn't have the reach of good friends to unburden themselves like their wife or husband, the lay therapy that we do for each other, for our friends. And all of this makes a huge difference. We don't think about it, but we share these little things with people. We get them off, and then we see they accept it, and then we get on with it. But they can stew, they'll build up. And what happens then, if this builds up enough, that it's literally the proverbial straw that breaks the camel's back. It doesn't have to be a big punch that generates cancer producing into your body. It could be just a little blow, because everything's already in place. Just a little boop, and away she goes. What we've been finding in the field of post-traumatic stress disorder, traumatology, the psychobiology of post-traumatic stress disorder, that's made some really good inroads here, but this whole idea the body remembers, body memory. And I think probably the one that I'm really enjoying the most is war and the soul. Now, please realize that trauma is not something that happens just to war veterans. It's said that the VA will say, 30%, maybe 35% of all veterans will get PTSD. Rape victims, it's 100%. Trauma victims, car accident survivors, kids going through surgery, 100%. So trauma is a major player in our life, and it goes virtually unrecognized. And if you go, I've got something wrong, and the doc says, well, I can't find anything wrong, it's all in your head. No, it's not in your head. It's deep in your nervous system, and they don't know, they don't recognize it. We have to become very careful about our own situation, our own advocate, and don't, well, not practice in medicine, but be very leery of people who say they want to cut it out and that's the only thing that can be done because I went somewhere else and 3 months later the tumor was gone and I'm fine and I have a whole life ahead of me too. How barbaric. It's almost like being in another time warp, going back 200 years. So now we always want to end with a nice conclusion. I don't know exactly what it is, except that when you're on the receiving end of this, it wakens you up a little bit more. And then we realize that fortunately, the pioneers in the field it's just growing exponentially. So when you hear about things, if you have become one of these unfortunate, know somebody gets this unfortunate situation, tell them to cheer up and start asking around. I'll be happy to help.
Yo. Thank you, Ron. Since our theme is marriage tonight, I want to give a shout out to Ron's wife Phyllis, who's been a rock for him.
Yo!
Thank you so much. And I'm proud to say that I'm a trauma and cancer survivor myself, so I really appreciate that. Thank you. Let's take 2 minutes to evaluate Ron. I'm not going to temporize any further. We're going to get to our vote for our best speaker tonight. First, let me ask our timer if who qualified.
Let's see. John qualified. That's it.
All right.
Just John.
All right, so John qualified tonight.
Yeah.
Next part of our meeting is the evaluation section of our meeting. And with that, I'd like to introduce our General Evaluator, Marilyn Graber.
Yay!
Thank you. Well, we really had a full moon meeting tonight. Full and brilliant, and now I'm sure that our radiant evaluations will reflect back a lot of light for our speakers and our audience. So let's welcome Tom Trainer to evaluate John.
Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, our distinguished guests, viewers at home, but most especially John. I'm going to speak to you because this is about you. Topic selection. I'm going to go down the questions because this is a good way to evaluate. We evaluate using these manuals so we don't miss anything and so we can give good feedback. That could improve because it was more a monologue instead of an interactive. An interactive would have been, you did get us involved, we all reached for the sky, then we reached a little higher. But after that, you were doing what you usually do. You weren't using your body. Preparation, excellent. Manner, confident and enthusiastic. If anything else, that's John. Confident, enthusiastic. He was poised and balanced in your posture. Gestures were very natural and evocative, although they were limited, because you were holding your cards and you were using them and you had to keep them close to your chest. And of course, your arms were almost not long enough anymore, John.
No, they should be infinite.
Yep. Body movement. Now, I'd say it is satisfactory because you still like the pace. Pace. It's nervousness in what they talk about is purposeful movement. You come over here to talk to Marilyn or Darlene or you or to Bert, but then you don't have to do that 50 times. Once or twice, you're going to talk to that side of the audience. Since this audience is bigger over here, you might spend twice as much time over there. You want to deliver something to them, and you deliver it to one person one time, once. Great eye contact, which you did a wonderful job at, but you can get better at that. You can bond with people. Essentially, what they found out is if you deliver one idea to one person one time, once, you never have to go back to them. You never have to talk to them again because they feel complete, that you really talk to them one-on-one, very intimate. Facial expressions, as usual, animated, friendly, genuine. Speech purpose was clear, speech organization, satisfactory. What I would like to have seen differently, more personal stories and personal experience. Now you get a little bit of that in the front end, but I would have liked to have seen a little more. Make it personal. You care enough, you want us to care, put you into the speech. You know what I'm saying? Make it more personal. If you put you in the speech, then I am in your speech. I care. What did you like about this presentation? As always, enthusiastic, loud, clear, articulate. Great job. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Tom. And now Jean Symington Craig will evaluate on care.
Hello, Toastmasters and guests and viewers at home. And particularly Ron, if I had a hat, I would take it off, but I, metaphorically speaking, would have to take my hat off to Ron. He's been through an incredible personal ordeal. And to be able to stand and talk about it and relate to us is just huge. I'd like to just give him a round of applause. Research your topic. How well did the speaker's topic apply to the audience? Well, we all know people that have had cancer who are no longer with us, and we all are possible candidates for having cancer ourselves in the future. Knock on wood. it's very interesting to hear, and I paid a lot of attention to what Ron was saying. How well was the topic researched? Ron showed a number of books on cancer and trauma. A suggestion would be, it could be useful to give a specific fact or quote when holding up a specific book. Tie the material, as opposed to just saying, here's all the stuff I did, make a point, and then say, and according to this book here, this author, here's a quote, here's a fact. To me, that makes it more connected. Ron's a very advanced speaker, by the way, so I'm giving him some extra points on these things, and I think he will be giving this speech again in the future for a number of different types of audiences. Did the speaker vary the types of support material? He did have books. He referred to the thousands of newsletters that he's been sent, and he did go into the story about the German new medicine, and the doctor seemed to know that story pretty well. That was a couple of different types of things that he brought in. How clear was the speaker's purpose? I would like to see up front something that's after maybe the story opening, which I really liked. He's sitting there and the urologist tells him, you know, you've got this big lump. Would be something to say, I'm going to propose, talks to us as the audience, a new theory and back it with research on a powerful origin of cancer. So now I can sit back and know where we're going with this speech. Was the speech effectively organized? I'd also like to hear a little bit of the current major accepted reasons for cancer, so that when Ron brings in the trauma theory, I already know a little bit about what's the accepted field, and here comes something new and powerful. Speaker take advantage of body language and vocal variety. He did use his hands, and he was doing impacts and things like that out here. I was trying to write, but it seemed like he did, for the topic, have some good gestures. What could the speaker have done differently to improve the speech? I've mentioned a couple. I would like to see one thing. He said 90% of diseases are psychosomatic, or there was some sort of speech like that. Where was that fact? Where did that fact come from? So you want to cite a source, and this is because this is researching your topic. That's a good place to say according to, and then give the cite the source. Also, since Ron has confirmed that he's now cancer-free, as the audience member, I'd be interested to know just a quick statement. What did he do? What was his cure? And then he goes on. I mean, that's a kind of a dangling detail that I'd like to know. And also time awareness. He went over time. Shoot. Out of the running. Got to keep an eye on the clock there, as I'm doing now. What did I like about the speech? He put that terror and humor right at the beginning with that doctor, and I'm terrified, but also, who's Mr. Care? Is that my dad? And he also, it's just this personal connection that he has to the topic. Great.
Okay, let's take 2 minutes. Or let's vote, right?
See if everybody qualifies. Who qualifies? All three?
I screwed up with jeans. I didn't put the 2/3. I didn't do the yellow light until 3 minutes. So.
But you qualified. She qualified.
So
She qualified.
Then both qualified.
But now did she get 4 minutes?
Less than 4 minutes.
She's qualified. She's fine.
Who were the other two?
Table topics. Yeah, everyone qualified then. Art qualified. Tom qualified.
And Jean.
Welcome back. We had 3 great evaluations, I thought. Welcome back, bonjour, bonsoir, our friend from across the pond has returned. I said bonjour.
Mark. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay, that's okay.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
She said
bonjour.
I'm sorry.
It's not in the right language. It's not in the right language.
Yeah.
Okay, Art made good points
I'm confused.
for all the people. He made recommendations for everyone. I like the way you demonstrated the gestures, like with Jean. You put your just did the gestures, expressed the gestures that she made. Now, you forgot Rahul, I think. So I would just suggest that in your notes, you make your notes so that you include everybody.
Yeah, form doesn't allow for 7 table topic speakers. I had to find.
I know that this was a challenge to make sure. Tom, you spoke right to John. You followed the manual, as did Jean also. You followed the manual questions, which is a really good way to do it because you're going to be sure to hit everything that's important that the Toastmasters International considers important. So it's a great way to do an evaluation. You said what was good, his confidence. You also made some recommendations. His gestures. I believe the topic was to be body language. Okay, so we did do that wonderful little exercise at the beginning, but the rest was, as you mentioned, rather limited as far as, so you might have used the space out in front here a little bit more. And a really good suggestion was to make it more personal, more stories, because this is kind of out in space. A little bit, because it was the topic itself. If you had given more stories, it would have really helped us to relate to it a little bit more. But I loved your speech. So Tom, my only recommendation for you gave him good points and recommendations. And you did address both sides. You did address both sides of the audience. I would just say, and I know this is difficult in an evaluation, but to somehow make your movements across the stage perhaps a little more purposeful. And Jean also followed the manual. Your analysis was just great. You gave, I think I have 6 recommendations down here, so that's great because Ron is an advanced speaker, so he can take this. You gave us good points, you gave wonderful recommendations, and just analyzed his speech just really, really well. And I'm searching wildly for a recommendation for Jean. And all I can say is maybe a little bit more vocal variety. And with that, I will turn this over to...
You got reports to do.
Oh, right, absolutely. Let's have our report from the timer, Casey.
So table topics, Will was 1:52, Jean was 2 minutes 18 seconds, Tom was 2 minutes 1 second, Darlene was 1 minute 7 seconds, Rita 2:16, Jesus 2:19, Raul 2 minutes and 30 seconds. For the speeches, John was 7 minutes and 25 seconds, Roy was 10 minutes and 44 seconds. For table topics evaluator, it was 3 minutes and 17, and for speech evaluators, Tom was 3:03 and Jean was 3:50. I apologize for missing out there. That's it.
Thank you, Casey. We'll have a 1-minute report from the all-counter, Darlene Martin.
Casey, 1 ah, 1 Bert had a clean slate. Dan had a clean slate. Rhonda had a clean slate. Will, 3 repeats. Jean, 1 ah, 1 1 you know, 2 so's, 1 but, and 1 repeat. Tom, 1 but. Darlene, I had a clean slate. Thank you. Rhea, 1 ah, 5 ums, 3 ands, 6 repeats. Jesus, 1 ah. Raul had a clean slate. John, 1 ah. 4 so's, 1 but. Lip smacks. It's not that loud, but there's a little, you do this little thing, yeah.
Sure.
2 repeats. Ron, 2 butts. Marilyn, 11 ahs. 2 ums, 2 butts, 1 tongue click, 2 repeats. Thank you.
I did take a hiatus from Toastmasters for a while. I have to get back on the back in the saddle. So let's have our report from the grammarian, Dan.
Yo!
We had 4 people use the word of the day. It was Rhonda, Jean, Tom, and Bert. I didn't think Tom used it exactly correctly, but we had a small group, so you get a gold star anyway. I didn't hear anything that appeared incorrect, but here are a few phrases that I did hear that I liked. In Table Topics, Tom said, "In the process of losing everything, I found my real wife." And then when evaluating, Tom said, "If you want us to care, put you in the speech." I thought that was great. Jean said, "I'm on my first husband."
You like that
That
one.
would stand out.
I like that one.
That caught my ear. That woke me up.
Kept you on your toes.
Rahul said, "Marriage is a bond you enter into not for one lifetime, but for lifetimes."
Oh my God.
John said, "Let's do a little Toastmaster yoga." And Ron said, it was a quote, "Do the best you can with what you have right now."
Yo!
And now we have a joke from Jesus.
Yo!
Continuing on the theme of marriage, a Mexican couple comes for a doctor visit, and as they wait on the room, the doctor comes in and says, "Next." And a young girl, and it was a big difference. The woman was 18 years, the gentleman was about 60 years old. He said, "Sir, if you want to, you can come and be with your daughter." He said, "It's not my daughter, it's my wife. My motor still works." So they get to spend time with the doctor, and they come back months later for another checkup. The doctor said, "Sir, you can come in with your daughter." He said, "It's not my daughter, it's my wife. My motor still works." Later it turned out that the girl was pregnant, and it got time to deliver the baby. The baby was delivered, and the doctor comes to the waiting room and says, "Sir, you can come and see your daughter already delivered the baby. You can come and see the baby." He said, "It's not my daughter. It's my wife. My motor still works." He said, "Okay, I think you need to change the oil. The baby came out black."
I will turn the podium over to you.
I'd like to present some awards tonight.
Yo!
Let's see, we've got a few here. First one is Speech 7, Ron Kerr.
Yo!
Next one is Best Table Topics. Gene Samington Craig.
Yo!
Congratulations. And don't leave because you also have another word for Best Evaluator.
Yo!
Double winner tonight. What are your chances of that? And then the next award goes for the best speaker.
Yep.
For the man who has met the Xenos. And I've been to Greece several times and I never was able to find Xenos. So I'd like to present best speaker, John Loris. So tell us, where did you meet Xenos?
It was in a picture book of Greece when I was a little kid, and there was a picture of Achilles, the runner.
No.
I didn't mean him personally.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't personally.
Thank you very much.
Too.
And John, come back up. I've got a ribbon.
Oh my goodness.
Ribbon time.
Now I'd like to turn the meeting back over to our president, Will Burns.
Thank you, Bert. Well, Toastmasters, it's time to close. But first, two things. I'm going to call Mr. Care, Ron, back up here this day. For distinguished service while serving as the Area 93 Governor in District 19. To Ron Care. This is an incredible accomplishment. He has taken what I do up here to the next level, to beyond the next level.
To infinity.
To infinity.
And beyond.
And beyond.
And below.
He has to deal with not only you wonderful people, but the other clubs as well. To manage personalities, to wrangle objectives, as our own Gene Simonton Craig did.
Last year, right?
Last year, yeah.
You're still this is last year.
Yeah, last year.
Here we are.
Here we are. I'm going to wrangle in my small part here by first talking to the guests. Start backwards this time with the NICU on the right. What was your experience like tonight here at Toastmasters?
Shall I stand up?
Yeah.
Stand up.
Because you were pretty
Okay. Well, fascinating. More than what I expected. So I think it is, at least it will be very thriving for whoever, that attends these classes or meetings. I would like to see it being, presented a little bit more systematic. Like I felt a little bit like I was lost at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But fascinating.
Thank
you. Sure.
I actually felt the same way when I came here as a guest the first time. It was awesome. But yeah, that is something to work on to kind of hone that down.
We'll work on that.
Yes. Mehdi,
Okay.
your experience? What is
It's difficult for me for explain because the English is second language, and I have many experience speaking in Farsi, in my language, in my country, and my business. But it's first experience, but I like relationship with each other and cooperating and managing, and very nice. And I think this class maybe helped to me for my work and my goal and my business, and I'm happy. Thank you.
Now we move to Ria. Taking the plunge here to the next step here, doing
I enjoyed tonight. I was a little bit afraid that the first time I got up to say something, I might totally freak out or freeze up or something. And I know I have a lot to learn, but being I finally made that first step, I'm actually looking forward to coming back again and again.
You can come back an infinite number of times.
Well, I can't delay any longer.
Temporizes.
Temporize, yeah. I want to make sure I use the word, but I no more temporizing.
Okay.
Rahul, quick point.
So just a reminder, we have speeches which are free, and
I like speakers to sign up. Do give me your name and let me know of roles that you would like to do, because I'm not really sure that if in your competent leadership manual there are certain roles that you need to fill, and also I need to know the mentors. So do let me know of that. Thank you.
We made some good progress on getting dues collected while I was gone, and there are only a few of the club members who have not yet paid dues, whom I believe are actually intending to maintain their memberships. A couple or three of you are in the room who have yet to pay dues tonight, and if you got an email from me this afternoon about that, please see me at the end, Darlene, so we can take care of that.
I paid mine already. I paid it before you left.
That's all right. You're not even on this list. Of course you did.
We just want to include you, Darlene.
On vacation.